Yeah, I got the homies in here. Hey man, you already know what time it is. Gold Sacc time. I just wanted to come in and actually um, do a live while I got time, man. Niggas been waiting on me to come back and do some videos. I've been busy, like I ain't been fucking around, like doing no videos or nothing, man. So I'm here. So I wanted to chop it up with you guys and talk some game, man. Yeah. What up, though? What up, though? I see four motherfuckers in here thumbing it up, man. We in this bitch. What's jumping, though? You know what I'm saying? Wipe your feet. You already know how it go. You already know how it go, man. I I've been having a couple conversations over the last couple days. Yeah, what's up, though? And the conversations that I've been having, I've been wanting to chop it up. What up, I am the creator. You know what I mean? So I was having this little conversation about spirituality and religion, and talking about the difference, and talking about why it's pretty much, there's a big difference, and a lot of people don't know the difference. The quality is so clear, like too clear, it lags a bit. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. So what I was talking about is this, man. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand the difference. Well, I'm not gonna say it's hard to understand the difference. Oh, that's what's up, man. Nigga got down drinking water, man. Nigga drinking water. Nigga done drunk a whole gallon today. Best quality I seen for a live. Oh, that's what's up, bro. I'm happy I'm in a good spot then. I'm happy I'm in a good spot. So check this out. If you want to understand the difference between religion and spirituality, and before I go further, I don't wanna step on anybody's toes or make anybody feel some type of way when I talk about this shit, because if you got a religion, cool. But what I will say to that is this. Oh, I see motherfuckers in here. Thumb it up, thumb it up, thumb it up. All right. He said, I'm in no religion no more. Now, I want to preface that by saying this. Now, what I'm giving you is straight up game. I'm giving you straight up red pill game in the form of what we're talking about. Now, you can apply red pill game to the dynamics between genders and how we deal with women. You can apply red pill game to the difference between religion and spirituality. Now, what I'm about to tell you is real game. What I'm about to tell you is real shit. So, we have to be very clear on understanding what religion is. Religion is a political instrument. I want this to be heard. It's a political instrument. Now, I'm walking you down this path so you can understand things. Now, I want you to understand something. Liken yourself to a blade of grass. Think of yourself, first of all, as a blade of grass. Now, what I'm about to say is this. If you know that you're a blade of grass, you have the ability to grow up in the garden, or you have the ability to grow out in nature, in the wild, where it's not necessarily tended to by humans' hands, right? If you are a blade of grass, or let's say you're a flower and you're in a garden where everything's manicured, there's a greenhouse. I want motherfuckers to understand something, man. If you never grew a plant, or like me in my instance, back in my trapping days, nigga, I used to grow pounds of weed. So I really understood nature on that green thumb level. When you are dealing with nature, when it's in a controlled environment, of course there's a upside to it to a degree, depending on what you're looking for. Then there's also a lot of shit that comes with it. When you're on the upside of thinking that a manicured garden in a greenhouse in a controlled environment is what you're going for a certain driven result. That's what religion does. What religion does is allows a political machine or a government to implement a moralistic fabric to a society. Then it also deals with politics. So what happens over time It's why you see a lot of fighting and wars because politics is religion and religion is politics. And these are tools that are used. So when you think of what you hear, when you hear missionaries, right? We are the concrete roses. How do I as a spirit get to the 4, 5, 6 dimension? So what I'm going to is talking about when you deal with politics and religion, what you understand is that these are tools that are used for war as well. Missionaries go to places, and if you liken it to the military, they're like the ones who goes for recon. Like they go and see what's out there. They're the recon. They're the ones who do the reconnaissance. What's out there? What can we bring back in terms of intel? Who are these people? What's this foreign land? How are they? What are their religious point of views or spiritual point of views? And is this an ally to our mission or what we're trying to do? These things are very important to understand in the beginning, because what happens is this, and it's very important to understand that it's done so they can also know what they're up against. This is intelligence. You know what I mean? Exactly. Religion's main purpose is controlling person. Otherwise, would not be so many religions. Now, that's very important to understand. The reason why that's very important to understand is because you got people out here who are scared of spirituality. You got this idea that spirituality is wrong, religion is right, but you have to liken it to what you see out here in the society. That is like taking a flower that's been grown in a greenhouse, and they're thinking that growing out in nature is wrong. They're against growing out in nature because they have been conditioned to be in a controlled environment. Now that's very important to think about, because what else would a plant that lives on the outside in nature, they're trying to tell the plant that lives in the greenhouse, like, yo, you're not really living. You're not really living. You're living in a controlled environment. It's not real. And to the perspectives, you can always understand why it's like that. But the truth of the nature is that the plant on the inside also says this to support their point of view. The plant on the inside in the greenhouse says, well, why would I think that's where you're supposed to live at, when at the same time, you got to deal with motherfucking all these catastrophes and all these other factors that also does what? Threatens my way of living, my way of life. Like, you got birds out there, you got insects that want to motherfucking, you got insects that want to bite on you. You got insects that want to nibble at your roots. You got all these conditions where you might not get enough rain. You got all these conditions where you may not get enough sunlight. All these things, right? But the plant that lives on the outside says, hey, I get what you're saying, but the truth of the nature is that you have freedom here. You have an ability to withstand those environments and conditions that you have in there, where here you really get to live. In the greenhouse, you're just existing. Now think about that. You just exist in a greenhouse, but if you live out here in nature, you actually get to live. And in the beginning, when you think about this story of what, just this analogy of how this works, like, for example, I am the creator. He says, Garden of Eden. Exactly. It's very important to understand this. I see 15 motherfuckers in here, man. Thumb it up, you know what I'm saying? So, to the ones who still deal with religion, I always say this because I've been on this path for a long time. You don't necessarily bash people who deal with religion. What you do is you try to be a beacon of light, because they're going to need that. If you are ahead of the curve, you got to be there for when they come around so they understand. The last thing you want to do is be somebody who bashes religion, but then not understand why the levels of consciousness is the way it is. There's levels to it. So, in so many words, right? When you sit back and you think about how, just in Christianity, there's so many different denominations of Christianity. That shit is crazy. You got all these well, we believe everything up until this point, then we believe this, and then, oh, we don't believe that. No, we believe this. But my friend asked a question and was like, well, what's the difference between that and then the metaphysical or spiritual community? The difference is when you deal with the occult. See, I'm an occultist. And when you deal with the occult, what you realize is this. Some people have an ability for numerology. Some people have an ability for astrology. Some people have an ability to deal with the I Ching. Some people deal with palmistry. Some people deal with casting cowrie shells. There's so many forms of what we call divination. Now, divination means that you are divining or you have divining tools. Divining means that you're able to tap into high levels of nature or understanding how to interpret nature in the cycles of nature or the cycles of life in terms of what nature is, because we're talking about a consciousness. We're talking about being able to extrapolate something so profound from something that has outside of a certain boundary a chaotic formula. But when you are able to get to a certain level, you realize chaos does have a formula. So if chaos has a formula, is it really chaos? Or is it just a very, very, very highly evolved level of communicating with consciousness, right? Now, I know some of this shit right here might sound crazy for some people, but at the same time, these are the type of conversations that have to be had. Because in order for us to be who we are in terms of human beings, we have to be doing a certain level of work. That level of work requires you to be able to communicate consciousness to other beings. And for us to have what we call an ability to respond to that. Religious folks may be here for eons until they finally come around. Exactly. Now, I'm going to talk about that point, Astral Thoughts, because that's the point that I made. You know what I mean? A lot of people need to take the red pill on race too. Kids aren't coming out saying I'm black, I'm white, I'm brown, I'm yellow, etc. That's propagated through politics programming. I just posted, we love the chaos and the chaos loves us. Now, these some dope points. I'm happy y'all tuning in. To Astro Thoughts point, he said religious folks may be here for eons until they finally come around. And that's one of the points I was speaking to my friend about, because he was like, well, I believe everybody should be able to do what they want to do and be where they want to be at. True indeed, but when it comes to dealing with religion, the true nature is you got the right to do that, but you got to understand that that is a program. That program is only for you to stay there, and you do yourself a disservice as a human being when you don't grow out of that. And my point was this, and I used the analogy of when we're in school, right? When you're in school, we all seen somebody who have done what? We all seen somebody who have skipped a grade, and we also seen motherfuckers who have failed grades and got held back, right? Now, a person who does not learn to evolve from religion will sit in a state of retardation or retrograding, or what you would call complacency. You will be held back until you get it. You will be held back until you get it. And if you don't get it this lifetime, you will be on the path to trying to go back and get it again next lifetime. Oh, if you don't get a chance to pass this 7th grade, well, guess what? You'll be in the 7th grade next year. And then there's still hope for the 8th grade. You just be in a class with other people who are coming back to this point of view. And that's what happens. So, of course, you got to realize that there's going to be people who evolve at certain levels of consciousness. But my point to that is that if you are stagnant in terms of thinking religion is the end all be all for you to go and grow, then you are already setting yourself up for failure. And for some people, it takes time. But what you will see in terms of society and the world, the way it works is this. Religion is dying out. It done what it was supposed to do. What it was supposed to do was get to this point where every generation you have enough people who are eligible to become pretty much, I would say this, you become eligible to be a student in the AP courses. Oh, they did this test. Oh, they passed that test. They're eligible to be in the AP course. Now you're able to take AP math. Some people need remedial math. Some people need the math that everybody's go through when they're all in the 7th grade. Everybody's just in the 7th grade. 7th grade, we all move together. We all move as one unit. In that one unit, you're gonna have some people that's able to go to the AP courses. Then you're gonna have some that's gonna have to need some help. They're gonna need some help. And then you got those ones who stay in the middle, who keep that energy, and then it falls off eventually. But the test of having religion is for you to be able to utilize your own brain. What up? What up? What up? You know what I'm saying? The book coming. I feel like a lot of spiritual wise. I know a lot spiritual wise, but it scares me because I know there's so much I don't know. Do not know. And so think about this. There's no reason for you to be scared. That's what comes with it. You have to have courage to be able to go to the unknown. You got to realize, man, when you are staying stagnant, you're actually fighting against yourself. You're fighting against what you should be doing. What up, Zach Line? What up, everybody in this motherfucker? You're fighting against what you should be doing, which is growing, because you're a blade of grass. When you stop growing, you utilize that time the wrong way. You see what I'm saying? Jams Plethora said, a lot of people need to take the red pill on race 2. Kids aren't coming out saying, I'm black, I'm white. No, but this you got to remember. We grow in stages. So in the beginning, no, nobody knows what you are until you start to grow into becoming something. Now, along those lines, when you're not aware of what you are in the beginning, it's only a level of ignorance. It's nothing wrong with that, but when you become older and you start to associate yourself in society, it's important to know who you are. It's important to know what you are. When you're just a seed germinating, you don't know that you're supposed to be a motherfucking a mango tree. A mango tree. You don't know that yet. You just like, hey, I'm growing. Hey, I'm just vegetation just like everything else. Until you get to those stages. Now, like I said, I used to grow a lot of weed. So for those who may have grown weed or grown plants, because plants are plants, period. But I used to term marijuana or weed, right? Because think about this. For those who may got green thumbs like I do, you'll know this. When you're growing weed, it's very important for you to understand the light cycles. Why? The light cycles. Why? Because in that process, you have what is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a very profound phenomenon when you think of what we're talking about in the context of plants. If you grew weed before or grew a plant before, if you just keep lights on. Now, if you're going outside, this is for people who may have done it indoor, where you deal with HPS lights, right? If you're dealing with high pressure sodium lights, then you'll understand that if you keep those lights on and you never change the cycle, you just leave those lights on, what would happen is the plant will just continue, it will just grow straight up. And as it grows straight up, it never transforms or changes. It never buds. It never goes through the budding process or what they would call the flowering process. You have what they call the vegging stage. The vegetation stage is for it to expand its leaves. What those leaves do, it creates a canopy where it's supposed to be able to take in all the sunlight. It's like having little solar panels. That's what those leaves are. That process, if you leave the lights on, it never goes to the next phase. What's up, baby? It never goes to the next phase. It just stays in a vegging state. Now, why is that important? Because when you deal with vegging, when you deal with the plants, until you get to the vegging stage, is when you change the lighting. This induces a phenomenon where it starts to grow now. It goes from its vegging state to its budding state when it's consistent. You know, if you dealt with growing plants before, you would go to 12 on, 12 off. 12 on, 12 off gives it the same amount of time to grow and rest. So we're dealing with a state of duality, but they both serve a purpose. Darkness and light serves a purpose. This is very important analogies that's on an occult level for you guys to understand in its deep essence. Without that budding process, with the lighting phase, 12 on, 12 off, you do not get the desired fruit or the results that you want. Now, it's important to understand that because we talk about duality for a reason. Because everything here serves a purpose. If your understanding of it is not on the level to get it, then it's not that it's a wrong thing. It's that you don't get it. Now, to that point is this. Once you understand this phenomena of photosynthesis, now you can apply that to religion or understanding spirituality. It still levels to it, because in religion, it's a moralistic fabric that just pretty much takes over society, because now you got people thinking, oh, that's good, oh, that's bad. When you start to deal with the occult or you deal with spirituality, what you understand is this. There's no such thing as good and bad. There's cause and effect. Now, to that point, you got people who say, oh, that's bad. Well, what if this happens, man? Your understanding of what goes on this planet has to be so deep that you can deal with it. You know what I mean? So MD said, I heard you say there's no such thing as morality. Only cause and effect. Could you explain? Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I'm talking about that right now. Yes, just like birth and death is nothing but transformation. Now, understand this. When you deal with life, and we're talking about these occult things that go on, understand this. When you're in elementary school, your understanding of math is adding and subtraction. What's 2 plus 2? 4. Class was 4 plus 4, 8. And somebody's in there gonna be like, 6. Oh, no, 8. Yeah. Oh. All right, guys. Your understanding of math at that time is adding and subtraction, because the world that you are in at that moment, or the evolutionary path that you are in at that moment, is setting a foundation for you to understand things on a more complex level. When you get to middle school, your understanding of what math is changes. It varies by degrees. It varies by degrees. Robbie Rob says, it's life itself seems like an occult. It is. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to get. Life is a cult. There's a veil. That's why it's very important for people to understand what I'm telling them. Because the way life works, for you to be able to transmute energy to somebody else in terms of conveying a thought, is by being able to understand it from a right brain perspective. It's very important that you guys get this. Analogies are important because it provides symbolic tools for you to be able to deal with. Now, when you're in middle school, your perspective of math changes again. When you're in middle school, what happens is this. When you're in middle school, you're able to get to a point where now what you know about math is, now we're talking about division. Now we're talking about division. Okay, now you guys know division. Now you know multiplication. Now you know how to deal with everything on a math level at that age. You don't get certain things still, but you're learning a certain type of formula. And the foundation has to be set, right? That foundation is set when you deal with understanding 2 plus 2, 4 plus 4. Once you get that, then you're able to understand 2 times 2. Okay, what's 2 times 2? After you understand 2 plus 2, then you get to a point where you start to understand these things on a certain level. What that does is this. It allows you to start to connect the dots. Now, connecting the dots requires you to be able to have that formula in place. Now, once you get to a point where you start to understand math in the middle school level of consciousness, now we're talking about going to the next level. The next level is high school. The next level of consciousness is math in high school, right? So what happens is this. As you continue to grow, you're supposed to be able to understand how to connect the dots and grasp the concepts of a formula of something, right? So you got to understand this is the same way it works when it comes to religion and spirituality. Religion is good for whoever needs it at that age, but you got to understand what it looks like and how it really works. If you could take this analogy as well, we all rode bikes before, right? Has anybody in here haven't rode a bike before? Who hasn't rode a bike before? Now, think about this. If you haven't rode a bike before, you will not understand the concept of what it means with this analogy, but what I can do is still try to bring it to you to see. When you think of riding a bike, we can only... Oh, yeah, I was typing on the computer. So check this out. If you never rode a bike, you wouldn't get this concept, but you will still get what I'm saying. Because you've seen somebody ride a bike. Riding a bike when you're 4 and 5 years old, maybe even 3. What goes on in the beginning stages of learning to ride a bike? What happens, guys? Somebody comment in this motherfucker. What happens when you begin to learn to ride a bike? Larry Scott said, I'm lost. I don't know what to believe or where to turn. My spirit is telling me my African roots, but I don't know where to start or what to research. Your question is your answer. That's the beginning. Always remember that. You fall, right? Now, in the beginning stages, what is on a bike for you to learn? Training wheels. There you go, Dre 1K. Training wheels. Training wheels are on the beginning of a bike. When you are in the beginning stages of learning how to ride a bike. Training wheels. What are training wheels? Training wheels are guides. Training wheels are guides and safety components to allow you to be able to, first of all, be comfortable enough to even want to go to the next stage. Now, why is riding bikes an analogy that I'm using? Because I want you to see something. Training wheels are essential and it's important to have in the beginning of learning to ride a bike. Now, think about this. It's normal when you see kids riding a bike with training wheels on when they're 3 or 4, right? It's normal. Now ask yourself, by the time that child is 13, should they still be riding with training wheels? Should they be riding with training wheels? You're gonna look at it differently. You're gonna be like, why is that child still got training wheels? They 13 years old. They should know how to do this by now. 13, and you still got training wheels, nigga? At 6 years old, I had a motherfucking BMX, nigga. Like, damn, y'all niggas still riding bikes with training wheels? That's what you're gonna be thinking, right? It's the same way when you apply the context. You could be on training wheels, but if you know that you're not comfortable yet, stay on training wheels, but know that you're supposed to be able to be the little kids over there. And now what happens when you ride the bike? Once you get to a point where you can ride the bike now, right? No training wheels. It's levels to this shit. You don't immediately hold your hands out and be like, yeah, look at me. I can motherfucking hold my hands out. And Anise said it depends on the experience. Now, to my point is this. What happens when you feel comfortable enough now that you're riding with the training wheels? The next stage is what? The next stage is your mind starts to calculate the risk of what happens when you get off those training wheels. You start to calculate, well, what if I might scrape my knees? Like you guys said in the beginning, scrape them knees, you fall off, lose your balance. Those are calculated risks that you know is what comes with the shit. When you see everybody else who rode the bike and they're over there like, you can do it. And they over here standing up, popping willies and all that type of shit. And you're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. Then they're like, well, you got to do this first. But what happens when you do that first? You have to know that you're going to get some motherfucking knee scrapes. You have to know that you might scrape your elbows. You have to know that you're going to fall. You're going to fall. Neo showed you this. Morpheus told him, you're going to fall. The first time you make that jump, you're going to fall. This is all allegory. This is all symbolism for you to see. When you take that first risk and you jump and you leap to leave behind the old ways, you're going to fall. So you got to understand what this means when we talk about the fall of man. You got to understand what we're talking about. We leapt from one stage of consciousness to fall only to rise up again. That's what's going to happen. You're going to always fall the first time. You're going to fall. You're going to fall. It's something that you can bank on. It's most certain that's what's going to happen. Because that's the way consciousness learns to gain its handles. You know what I'm saying? You got to know that's what's going to happen. So this state that we're in, or this transient state, is called a transient state for a reason. It's a transition. And within that transition, what happens is this. You got to realize that until you awaken your soul, that you'll be staying here in the incubator. You got to know that you're in the incubator. This is why you got to realize that you're not your body. This is why you got to realize that the universe shows you everything. You can learn everything from this universal classroom. Your teacher is outside right here, chilling, showing you everything. You go through cycles. So it's religion the matrix. Religion is the matrix. It's a construct, but it's for those who still need it. So you have to understand. Let me give you this other point before I end it, but I wanted to just talk about it real quick. I took swimming lessons, right? I took swimming lessons. We got to learn how to live outside above it. I took swimming lessons. Let me tell you something that's dope. The first day of swimming lessons, check this out. The first day of swimming lessons, they had everybody. Everybody was in 3 feet, the beginning parts. And there was like 10 or 12 lifeguards out there. There was like 10 or 12 lifeguards out there. And they said, everybody, on the count of 3, put your head under the water. Everybody's in 3 feet over here. We just in 3 feet. We're not in 8 feet. We're in 3 feet. They said, everybody put your head under the water. And those that didn't put their head under the water, they said, okay, y'all stay here. Everybody that put their head under the water, y'all come over here and follow us. Now, what happened? All the people that put their head under the water went over to the side where there was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 feet. And guess what was over there on that side? The diving board, the motherfucking the slide, the water slide. They had all this fun shit that they was eventually going to get to, that they got to in a matter of days, and the rest of the time they were just having fun. They were still learning how to swim. They was doing backstrokes. They was learning how to do all this shit. They got to have freestyle time, all type of shit. The ones that didn't were on the side where the kiddie pool was, and 3 feet and 4 feet. And guess what? The first thing they said, it didn't matter how old you were. It didn't matter what size you were. If you didn't put your head on the water, you stayed on that side of town. And what happened? They told everybody to put their little kiddie floats on. Put your little floaty elbows on. Put your little floaty elbows on. You got to use goggles. And guess what? It didn't matter what size you were. And then you had to go through all the basic fundamental shit of what? Starting with what? Getting comfortable enough to put your head on the water. Now, why is that important and why is that profound? Because they knew that if you couldn't put your head under the water off top, you were not ready to swim at a certain level that is required for you to know that there's going to be times where you have to put your head under water. You have to be comfortable with that first for you to swim. The mind had to be trained first to deal with what was going to come with that. Very profound, because what happens after that is that now that you know that you have to be able to put your head on the water first, you have to know that, because guess what? In order to get on that slide, you have to know that when you come out of the chute of that slide, you're going on the water. That's just natural. When you jump off that diving board to do all those cool ass flips and belly flops and all that type of shit, you had to know that you were going to have to get your head wet. You were going to have to go underwater. You had to know that. But the fun came with those risks. of knowing that you was going to get your head dirty. You knew that you was going to have to get your head wet. You knew that there was a risk that you were going to have to jump under and you were going to have to get wet. And you had to be comfortable with that first. Did you put your head underwater the first time? And no, I didn't. And that's why I'm bringing this analogy up. But let me tell you what's funny about that. I didn't put my head underwater. But guess what? I used to do it. Prior to that, I did. Prior to that, they was like, why you ain't do it? I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't do it. But when I didn't do it, I wished I would have done it, because then I seen what was out there to do after that. They was having all the fun. But guess what? Eventually, we all got to party at the end of the pool. In the end of the pool, I got to party. I got to make it to 8 feet at some point in time. It was unassisted, but I got there. You know, it took a moment. It took a while of having to go through these stages and learn the rudimentary functions of that first. Now, I bring that up because this is the thing about consciousness and religion. You have to understand that's what it is. And if you're still there, you know that you will eventually get there. It might take you a couple times. You may have to be held back a couple grades to get it, but you will get there. Because why? As human beings, that's our function. If you see a plant that grows to a certain height, but they don't produce any fruit, that plant is no good. That plant is no good. That plant does not produce any fruit. It does not execute what it was supposed to execute. That's what God is. Generator, operator is to operate the will, the free will, the intent, the life cycle of going through the process of destroying or executing a function. Generator is your mind. You generate thoughts. You generate everything from here. You operate it through your intentions. You execute or destroy it. That's death. Everything. So serious. I see a lot of comments. Let me see. Yeah, exactly. Means to bind too. Exactly. Exactly. If religion is the current stage, what is the next stage? The next stage is spirituality. That's why I said, in order to understand, there's a difference between religion and spirituality. See, when you deal with spirituality, you realize that you're now leaving the training wheels behind. Those training wheels serve this purpose. Now it's time for you to go through the process of learning new things, tearing down the old constructs, shifting the paradigm. In order to do that, you have to leave behind what you thought was all there was to understand there is more. And with that, you have to have a certain level of matureness and integrity to know that everything that you see from here on out is not going to be what you want it to be. That's why when you think of religion, understand that it has a Piscean, Neptunian quality to it. It's the 12th house. But within that, there are levels. So it serves its purpose on a certain level. Then it gets to the point where you have to realize there's more to it. And that can be scary at times, because you realize there's everything that you thought, there's more to it. And that can be frustrating. Depends on how hungry you are. Depends on how hungry you are for knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Very important. You know, there's a lot of questions. Let me see. I see a lot of shit. Is it inevitable we get to the next stage, or is it uncertain? No, we all eventually get there. Think about this, and I'm bringing back this school analogy because I want you to see it and understand how it works. When you're at school, the whole end game is to do what? Graduate. So, just because that motherfucker got held back, just because your motherfucking ass got held back, nigga, just because you was bullshit and got them shooting spitballs all the time, nigga, and motherfucking, you know, skipping class, doesn't mean that you're not going to graduate. But it does mean that, nigga, your ass might have to go through remedial math again, nigga. Your ass might have to go through motherfucking, you might have to go through biology 101 again. And there's nothing wrong with that, because the end game is to graduate. You know? So you might have to go through those spaces, those stages where you have to learn that again. You know? If you don't go to the next level, you will be unfulfilled, which equals depression. No, what happens is it agitates and it deals with the frustration that you have to learn. You have to learn to be so frustrated with where you at that it produces a result innately out of wanting change. Complacency, redundancy, it all deals with death. And you got to get to the point where you want change. If it's not moving in this society, you are dead. Stagnation is death. Until you want change, you won't change. And so when you do decide to change, you have to know that's what comes with change. The uncertainty, the scariness, the bumps and the bruises. But guess what? Life is always about change, and change is the only thing that's certain. And you have to understand these concepts on a high level for you to always be courageous enough to be to the point where you understand this formula, where it may even scare you to your roots and your boots, but you understand that that's the only thing that's consistent. You have to stay moving because everything is cyclic. And so once you're comfortable with that, then you'll be in a space of peace. That's what peace means. Peace ain't just, oh, it's just love, flowers and dandelions and I love yous and namastes. Nah, nigga. It's the other side too. But that other side is very, very necessary. And it's important for us to understand this shit, because if we don't understand it, then we never really fully grasp the concepts of why spirituality is all around us, and you understand that everything is everything. You know? What do you think the end game would be to the terms of spirituality? The whole point of that is to know and become self-actualized. To become you become so aware of who you are in terms of everything around you, because that's what consciousness is. Always playing a game with itself to stay alive, to stay aware. That's what consciousness is to be aware. You realize who you are, and you play this cosmic game that goes on and on. It's the rabbit hole that Alice in the Wonderland is. Consciousness is that serpent, the kundalini. It is that snake that eats itself. When you look at the Ouroboros, if you look at what's called the Ouroboros, it's the snake that eats its tail. It's the never-ending cycle, the never-ending story. Different characters, same stage, different settings. The eternal loop. The cycle that goes to the next level based off of you being able to evolve and graduate. Just because you get out of school in the 12th grade, you got to understand the way the world works in terms from, first of all, religion, right? Is this. When you think of school, look at that as autopilot, okay? Understand when you go from K to 12, that's autopilot. Now, autopilot is life from the formative stages. Then that's religion. Spirituality is college. You have to put in the work to get to college. You don't just fall into it. You have to put the work in to get that degree. You have to put that work in because school was a social construct. It was a software program, K through 12. Hey, we all got to go through school. Hey, it's just normal. Everybody does it because it's your formative years. It forms you. After that, it's on you now. You went from autopilot. Everybody don't go to college, but everybody can still get a degree. Some get degrees in prison. Damn, it took that to go that route, but hey, you got it, my nigga, goddamn. Some go to community college 10 years later, 5 years later, they go back. That's the same way you got to understand when you think of spirituality. It's not given to you. The beginning was all motherfucking software programming. It was normalized. Everything after that is your conscious decision. It's your conscious decision. And that's how real this is. You know, a lot of these religious people are possessed by demons and controlled by desires. They're not... A lot of these... Let me tell you something, man. It's not even that. It's all about your understanding. And let me break this down for you so you can understand it. If you know good and well that nature is your teacher and you can learn everything from nature because you're in the school of spirituality, You have free will to do whatever you want. The consequences that come with that within this construct, you have to be aware of. Now, when it comes to religion and people who utilize the ability to be the instrument of teaching other people or manipulating them, because that's what it is, for political gain. All that is that somebody got greedy because they found a loop in this motherfucking system that they can get off on. It's the same way as if you know in good and well that you are in the 12th grade, but you know that a person in the 6th grade does not know what you know. They don't know math the way you know math. They don't know it. So you fuck with them. You teach them wrong. Or you fuck with them and you utilize the ability of knowing that you got a little bit more of consciousness than they do. And you don't got them in the right way. You take advantage of them. They're looking for somebody to teach them math. And you're like, hey, I'll teach you AP math. And then, you tax them, you drain them. It's going to cost you this for me to teach you AP math. And all you do is teach them some shit they know in a different way. And you spend your whole time draining them by teaching them something in a different way. So you think about math, right? And the reason why I use math a lot, because life is math. Think about how they had short division and long-term division, right? They'd be like, hey, I'm going to teach you division. You're teaching them long division instead of teaching them shortcut division, the short way. And you're masking it up as division. That's what those people in the religious positions do. Some do it consciously, some don't. Some think that's all it is. That's because that's all they know. They don't know nothing else because they never went higher either. So they don't know. And it's all about that perspective. Do we control our reality or does our zodiac sign decide our fate? Ashad the Clamp Guy, what happens with astrology, you got to understand the difference between what people think astrology is and what it really is that astrology is actually an indicator. It doesn't force you to do nothing. It's an indicator of certain cycles that you will be succumbing to. It's an indicator. Simple and plain. Doesn't make you do anything. It is an indicator. Yeah, I see 52 motherfuckers in here. 42 people thumbed it up. I see a couple people didn't, but it's all good. I know I ain't been on here in a minute, so we getting them back up. I know some shit that a lot of people will tap into later. Yeah, God King, I realized since I've been aware the energy magnet with people and animals have gotten very strong and sometimes annoying, especially with driving, because it feels like things really test or kill. That's what it do. That's what it is. I didn't want to be long. I definitely just want to chop game with you guys for a second. And we about to be going even more deeper into this shit, man. I know people want to hear no fap shit, but like I tell you, my page is for people to be able to go to the next level. That's why I said Gold Sacc Academy. So you niggas can understand this shit and we go to the next level with it, man. Stay focused on your grind, stay focused on your game, understand your purpose, and get to your level of understanding your purpose here, because that is where you will understand that you are a tree that is supposed to produce fruit. If you're not looking to produce fruit, you're not understanding your purpose. Very real. They ain't want to be too long, man. Just want to chop gang. I will be dropping more videos this week, man. Keep on thumbing this shit up, man. Keep on telling motherfuckers about the goddamn page, the channel, and we gonna keep on going there, man. Yes, sir. You already know.